Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depending on what time of day you're watching Xplanated, the JonFly production vlog, episode 3. That's right, Xplanated. Today, we're going to be talking about several subjects, and along the way in the background will be a flight from Austin, Texas to Dallas, Fort Worth, KAUS to KDFW in the IXEG 733. Really enjoying this plane, and thought you'd enjoy the visuals as I vlog about a few subjects today. So many of you in the Xplane fraternity know about the Airfoil Labs Cessna 172. It's a great plane. They just recently came out with a new version, which is 1.61. And the plane features a lot of nice new things and some things that are a little hard to get used to. Let's put it that way. So they've included a maintenance situation where if you do not take care of the plane properly, some equipment is going to fail. In version 1.5, I had a particular start procedure for the Airfoil Labs Cessna 172. I tried that same procedure on the new version, and I couldn't get the plane started. Several different combination of steps, and I could not get the plane started. Now I know that there are correct ways to start a Cessna 172, but anyway, long story short, by using the methods that I'd used in the previous version, I could not get the plane started very easily. And once I did get the plane started, after floods and other battery failures, etc., and I started flying around and I'd have cylinder failures. So I'm having to really go through and learn the correct procedures, which is a good thing. But I'm also reading the forums where a lot of people are getting a little bit frustrated with the frequency of failures. I don't blame them. I mean, you're used to just getting in there and doing boom, 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 getting up there and flying. I'm happy that they're introducing some things that make you think about the real world as far as the correct procedures, but at the same time, I'm a little frustrated with not knowing the correct procedures. So it's a lesson for you out there in YouTube land and Xplane land that sometimes the things that we do here in the sim don't reflect the real world. And when, for example, those flying cars over there, those don't represent the real world. That may be because I have, well, not exactly sure why there's flying cars over there by the terminal. We'll let it slide. I did read something about how runway follow contours affected the elevation of air conditioning units and or cars. So, not sure if that's the situation here or not. But anyway, great product. I watched AeroSim Gaming. Now, any of you that have not heard of twitch.tv, go there now. Check it out. There are a handful of streamers that are streaming flight simulation, and it's just really good content. One of them happens to be AeroSim Gaming, and his name is Rush or Alan, depending on your mood. And he did a start procedure on the Airfoil Labs Cessna 172, and it worked, started up first time. And I was very impressed. So I'm going to try to mimic that procedure. Certain number of seconds with the mixture and the fuel pump and the quarter open of the throttle, etc. I think he did affect the cylinder though in flight. But overall, he did a much better job at that plane than I did. And I'll be interested to see other YouTube videos and or streamers that that use this new version 1.61. Anyway, just to give a shout out to M. Congrove. M. Congrove, I think his name's Mark. He's the designer of KAUS here. That's available on the Xplane org store. It's a very well done airport. I'm not going to be able to see all of it today, but I always like trying out new airports. Now, I had a problem with this airport. I was live streaming twitch.tv/JonFly, JonFly, as you see above there, just west of the Pilot Edge logo. Or in the center in black, twitch.tv/JonFly. Shameless plug. So I was live streaming, and I was excited to live stream 2 new airports that I had acquired. And so I was doing a flight from Dallas-Fort Worth down to Austin. And as I approached Austin, my X-plane crashed. And I was very frustrated, so I immediately started to wonder why, and I went to the log.txt file in the Xplane directory, and I noticed that it had loaded SASL last, and that was related to something, one of my plugins. I noticed that I had loaded, and then another time I loaded up at or the very next moment I loaded up at Austin and I had another crash. And in the log, the last thing that was loaded was SkyMax Pro. Okay, so I go through and I disable SkyMax Pro, and I disabled AutoGate and jar ground. I mean, these are several attempts at rebooting it, disabling different plugins, and I kept crashing at Austin. So I was frustrated, ended up ending the flight and going to my standby Cessna 172 version 1.5 Airfoil Labs, and I did a flight on Pilot Edge, online air traffic control. We did an FS economy flight where we made a little virtual dollar from Van Nuys to Banning. Anyway, so I went to bed that night, and I got up the next morning very, very early, and it was just frustrating to me why Austin was crashing. So I started taking out different things and trying different things, and then finally narrowed it down to scenery. And just for those of you who are doing scenery, mesh and photo, just so you know, Xplane loads 6 tiles at a time, 6 1x1 tiles. So the way that I do my 1x1 tiles, when I load up at Austin, it did these 6 1x1 tiles, and so I went through and identified which tiles were related to the Austin airport. Now I'm just going to briefly switch over to ForeFlight here. And actually, I'm not going to switch over to ForeFlight. That'll come. We'll talk a little bit later about ForeFlight. I'm going to switch over to Xorganizer. Now, Xorganizer is a program that I've talked before about on my vlogs. I'm going to zoom in here. So as you can see, all of these yellow squares represent 1x1 tiles of scenery. And I've started tiling and building scenery in November, and it's taken me a long time to get this far. I'm just now building these tiles across Oklahoma, North Texas. And anyway, long story short, as you can see down here, I have this tile that is just south of Austin. So if you hover above the tile right here, if you look down in this corner, hopefully it's large enough on the video here. If you hover above it, you'll see that it is tile plus 29 minus 098. So what I had to do in my troubleshooting of the scenery is I had to identify which one of these tiles. Now it loaded 6 around Austin, so it loaded all 6 here. And I had to go through and disable in my custom scenery INI file each one of these tiles to identify which one was the one that was failing. Now I have to go back and I have to redo this tile that's San Marcos. San Marcos sounds familiar. Didn't Mr. Aviation 101 fly out of there? Anyway, long story short, I have to redo this 1x1 tile with mesh and photo because my sim crashes. So this is one of the nice things about Xorganizer is it really organizes that scenery and it lets you identify what's where and what to do about it. Now also, and I've showed this on previous you can go through and you can look at all the airports that you've enabled and all the global airports, etc. So anyway, it was kind of cool. I finally narrowed it down. I took out that tile, which is just south of Austin, and now I do not crash when I am in the Austin area. So I will report back as to whether or not a new tile creation produces the same results. So we're just taking off out of here. Runway 17 right out of Austin. One other thing that I noticed is that when you're identifying where a particular longitude and latitude is, in this case, well, let's just say I identified a tile that was 30, plus 30 and minus 98. What I learned that is Austin is it's 97.75 and it rounds up. So in this case it was minus 98 even though it was minus 97. So there's a little bit of trick with regard to finding the correct tile. But we fixed it, and it's just one of those things that you sometimes have to troubleshoot in order to make Xplane work correctly. All right, we're just taking off out of here. This happens to be the LO1 departure procedure, or LO1 SID, standard instrument departure from Austin. We're doing the FORS, or FORSS transition. And then we'll go into the GUTS waypoint and we'll do the BOO V4 arrival into Dallas-Fort Worth. So a couple other things I wanted to talk about. Recently a new ARAC came out. Now for those of you who are not familiar with what ARACs are, it's the navigation information for your GPS and or FMC. So in the Boeing 737, you have to program the FMC. And in here, you have to update your waypoints periodically because the FAA makes changes. So recently, ARAC version 1607 came out, and I subscribed to Navigraph. And Navigraph.com gives me an email saying the new ARAC is out. Go download it. So I went and downloaded it. And I also used their FMC or FMS install manager. and I went through the procedure to load the ARAC, or the new navigational data, into this IXEG 737. And I was all happy about being the latest and greatest. Well, I went to program the departure and arrival for this flight, and particularly the arrival into Dallas. And Dallas KDFW had no stars. No arrival information was available in the FMC. So my point in bringing this up is that whenever you do an upgrade of an ARAC, an upgrade of a plane, an upgrade of scenery, or any other plug-in, what have you, make sure that you always back up. If you download the latest Airfoil Labs version 1.61 and you have issues with it and you're frustrated and you know it's going to take some time to learn the nuances, well, it's really handy if you saved version 1.5 in a directory so you could run either or at your leisure. And if you have spent 8-9 months building scenery and working with mesh, back it up, because you never know when a hard drive goes down. With ARACs, I just happened to make a backup of my ARAC 1606. So with ARAC 1606, I was able to revert back in this plane to 1606 until I find out if that 1607 KDFW star situation is related to the latest ARAC or something that I did incorrectly. Now there's a couple of different ways to install that ARAC information, and I'm gonna find out if I did something incorrectly. So my lesson to you today is back up your aircraft, your plugins, your scenery, your ARACs, all of that. Have the ability to go back. And then every once in a while, maybe once a month, once every other month, copy your entire Xplane directory over to a different location on your on a separate hard drive and or a USB hard drive. And keep that, because you never know when something is going to get messed up and you want to be able to go back to the a working simulation platform. So there you go. Take JonFly's advice for what it's worth. It's worth at least 3 cents. Speaking of backing up Xplane, some of you have seen that Xplane 10.5 has been released for beta testing. Beta 1 came out. There were a lot of issues. There were supposed to be tall buildings in the autogen and bunch of new features. Anyway, they had a lot of issues. They came out with a beta 2. They fixed a lot of things quickly. I'm not quite ready to jump in yet. I'm kind of in observation mode, watching the developer blog. And again, that's it, the time that I decide to go try 10.5 beta 2, I will back up my 10.45. You can be sure of that. So, a couple other bits of Xplane news. FlyJ Sim, the 727 version 2 should be out by the time you've watched this video, or shortly thereafter. I myself am looking forward to learning that plane, although I'm going to need some tutelage from someone out there, because I own the 727 as is, but I've yet to fly it. I've been flying the FlyJ Sim 732. But anyway, when the 727 version 2 comes out, I think because I own the complete edition now, I pay just an additional $10, and I'll get the new update, which is going to have a lot of new features, and it will also incorporate a maintenance function. So if I mess up, things fail, etc. I'm looking forward to seeing streams and YouTube videos and trying the plane myself. The time that I take it out on twitch.tv live, or the time that I fly it on the Pilot Edge network, or even do an Xplanated episode with it, is in the future, because I really need to learn that plane before I get in the cockpit live. A couple other bits of news. Some of you may know this already, but I guess I just hadn't heard. But Leading Edge, which is the creator of the Saab 340 for Xplane, Leading Edge is working on a citation a Cessna Citation 550 jet. And I am really excited about this plane because I tried their Saab 340 and it's study level. As far as I'm concerned, it's study level. And there may only be 2 or 3 planes on the X-Plane platform that I consider study level. And I think this one, if Leading Edge follows suit, will be. So here's just a quick glimpse of a picture that they had posted on their Facebook page, talking about different things that they're modeling, etc. So I know that it was last year that they started talking about this development on their Facebook page, but I'm really excited. So for those of you who hadn't heard that, maybe that'll be out this year, maybe early next year. I don't know. As soon as I know, I'll certainly let you guys know of a potential release. The other thing I wanted to talk about today is a tool. Now, some of you fly VFR in your general aviation aircraft, and some of you fly IFR in your general aviation aircraft, your Cessnas, your Pipers, your Pilatus, your TBMs, and then there's some of you fly IFR, of course, in the tubes, in the heavy jets. And when you're programming, some of you use simbrief.com to do your route choices, and some other people have just learned a particular route from others. A tool that I wanted to share with you, again, some of you already have used this, but those of you who haven't might find it handy. It's called the IFR Route Analyzer, and this is on flightaware.com. So if you go to flightaware.com and in the menu under Live Flight Tracking, you'll see IFR Route Analyzer. So in this case, I put in KAUS and I put in KDFW, and I click on Find Routes. And this is scanning all of the IFR flight plans that have been filed in the recent past. So in this case, 59 times this particular flight route was used for Austin to Dallas and at these altitudes. And these were the last times that they were used. So today, for example, Monday, Tuesday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. By the time you see this, obviously these will be in the past. But so I highly recommend this site for going to analyze which SIDs, which stars are being used, and which waypoints are being filed for a particular route. Very handy. And while I'm on this page, the other thing I wanted to give a shout out to is Coop 1019. Coop 1019 is working on a jet, and this is called the H800XP. It's the corporate jet, and his group Advanced Flight Modeling Simulation is working on that. So that's another thing that's coming down the pipe. I don't know of any particular release dates or time frames, but it's something to keep an eye out on. Coop 1019. He'll also frequent the Twitch channels, twitch.tv/JonFly, or many others. So if you see him, give him a shout out. He may give you a little inside track to his current progress on the citation, or sorry, on the H800XP. All right, while we're, I think we're in cruise. Yeah, we're in cruise. We're 27,000 feet. I'll go ahead and talk about another subject that I've been thinking about lately. So again, I will bring up ForeFlight. So here we have ForeFlight. I fly on PilotEdge, pilotedge.net. There's a 2-week free trial. You too can fly online with ATC. And feel free to ask me in the comments below how to get started in that. And I will gladly help you and also guide you where to go for resources for your very first flight with online real live air traffic control. I've been thinking about this, and I've been doing a lot of IFR approaches, IFR flight plans in my Cessna 172, Cessna 208, and I've been doing a lot of visual approaches and a lot of ILS approaches, but I'm not very educated on VOR approaches. So I was talking to one of the controllers at Pilot Edge, and he was giving me some lessons on VOR approaches tonight, and I hope I get this correct. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But let's just say for a moment that I am traveling, I'm flying into Camarillo. Let's say I'm flying from John Wayne, for example. Or no, let's say I'm flying from Santa Barbara, for this example, into Camarillo. A potential instruction from ATC is going to be, okay, they're going to give me vectors to the Camarillo VOR. So I'm going to fly over here to the Camarillo VOR. And they're going to want me to be above 4,400 at this point. So I'm out of the airport area. And if I clear this, you'll see you will see right here it says 4,400 to Cougar. So so they're gonna, let's say that they say, okay, you're coming in from Santa Barbara, go to the Camarillo VOR, and we're going to say 5,000. Cross Camarillo VOR at 5,000. Then I'm going to make a right turn, and they're going to clear me for the VOR runway 26 approach. So I'm going to go ahead and turn right, and I'm going to follow the 067 radial out from the Camarillo VOR. And in this case, I'm going to go ahead and make a right turn and come back in and do the approach. And I'm going to follow the step downs. So for example, right here at Canoga, I want to be at 4,400 right here, actually, 4,400. Then I want to step down to 3,400 at Bain and 2,000 at CC, and then make my approach. That is one way to do it. The other possibility is that I may get vectors direct to Cougar. So let's say I'm coming from Santa Barbara again at Cougar. So I'll get cleared for the VOR 26 runway 26 approach. I'm going to cross Cougar. I'm going to turn right, and then I'm going to follow that radial into the airport. So that's Camarillo VOR approach, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's two possibilities on getting into Camarillo. Now let's just quickly bring up Van Nuys. So Van Nuys, if we do a VOR alpha approach, it's a very similar thing. Let's say I'm coming from Los Angeles. So I come up from Los Angeles, I'm going to cross Canoga, and I'm going to make this turn. Oop, let's go ahead and draw. So I'm coming up here, I'm going to cross Canoga, and I'm going to make a turn in. And I'm going to follow the step down procedure down here. That's one possible way. Then the other possibility is I'm coming in here, and in this case, well, that's what I'm going to do. Whether or not I can do a parallel entry here, I'm not sure. But I could ask for vectors to final for the VOR approach from air traffic control as well. So I'm learning. Please chime in if you have additional information. I know that there are different procedure turns. There's the parallel, there's the teardrop, etc. And I need to learn more. But I just wanted to show you that, well, I also wanted to show off ForeFlight because it's so cool that I can annotate on the screen. But I'm starting to learn more and more about VOR approaches. Next, I'll probably step into RNAV approaches, just so I have that in my bag of tricks. there are, on pilotedge.net, there are ratings. You take VFR ratings, V1, V2, V3, they're awesome. And then you take instrument ratings, I1 through and I2 and I3, etc., all the way up to I11. I've passed my all of my V ratings, VFR ratings, 1, 2, and 3. 3 is intimidating. It's a fun one. And then I've passed my I ratings all the way up to I5. I have yet to do I6. I should do it soon. In fact, I might live stream the I6. But with each one of those ratings, you learn these different approaches. So I highly recommend that if you want to make your simulation more enjoyable, more real. Well, not real, but more realistic. Join Pilot Edge if you're on Pilot Edge now. Go through those trainings. Comment below if you've done that or you're thinking about doing that, and I'll give you my feedback so far on that, because it's a great training platform, and I don't even get paid by them to promote them. But I love them. I've met a lot of them in person, and it's just a good group of gals and guys. I think that is about all that I had, topics that I wanted to discuss. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and fast forward. We've been watching this on instant replay, and so I just want to fast forward to it's going to load some scenery here. So as it's loading scenery, we'll look that way. Running SkyMax Pro. So these clouds here are from SkyMax Pro. Please consider clicking the subscribe button below. That way I know that my content is actually being well received. Click the subscribe button below. Also, check out twitch.tv/JonFly, JonFly. And then click the follow button also. And again, it helps me realize that there's actually a purpose to my soapboxing and flying online. So this is Dallas-Fort Worth Airport, just off here. The scenery is loading because as I took the instant replay into fast forward mode, it needed to load the scenery. We're going to do an ILS approach into 17 right. Still looks like it. You can see the border of the ortho for KDFW that I purchased. It's a little bit different than the ortho that I have outside of the airport area. But we'll make our turn up this way. I'll go ahead and brief the approach here on 4Flight. So what I'm doing here is I'm right downwind, and current we're at 11,000, and we're gonna make our way up to the B1 waypoint, and then we'll make a turn to nets, and then we'll capture the ILS. And I've put the approach plate here on my path. So as you can see here, we took off from Austin and we followed this IFR flight plan. And then I put the approach plate over the map so I could see what was going on. And then over here, I've dialed in the frequency, the localizer DME frequency 111.35 into both nav1 and nav2. And I've also put in the approach course heading, which is 176 degrees, as you can see here up top. One thing that's very important is that you set your barometric pressure to what's current, and of course get clearance to land. So, and if we look down here below, I'm supposed to be at nets at 6,000, Garza at 5, Yalta at 3, and B. Baker at 2,200, and then on down. So that's one of the handy things with, again, with 4Flight. you can get ForeFlight for your iPad and or iPhone. I'll go ahead and fast forward this a little bit more. We're probably going to make our turn here now. Yep. Now we're making our turn and we're intercepting the ILS for 17 right. And as you can see down here, the magenta lines are showing the we're on track for the ILS. We're at this point we're controlling our speed. Now the animations here aren't 100% correct from the original flight because they just aren't. But at this point we're managing our flaps and our speed. And we're coming down into KDFW. I do a lot of day flying. I'm almost wondering if some night flying is in my future. I typically put gear down about 3,000 feet above field elevation, 2,500 to 3,000 feet above field elevation. I'm not sure what you do or what. I think in the real world that's typical, although I may be a little off depending on which SOP, which airline. This airport up here is KDFW, and you can buy this on x-plane.org, their store. And yeah, it looks really good. Nice models. I believe that's a Dallas Cowboy symbol on that building. Forgive me, I got a little bit of a cold. Caught that at SimCon, as I talked about in the last vlog. Typically, I'll try to keep explanated vlogs to 30 minutes or less, but on this one I had a few topics to discuss, go over. And hope you don't mind going over. You can fast forward at any time, right? This is 17 right. Flaps are 30 at this point. We're doing a flare, and we're gonna touch down the mains. And at this point, I'm a little off center, of course, but you can get a good shot at the terminal there. So, welcome to KDFW, Dallas-Fort Worth. I'll go ahead and continue the video and let you watch the airport as I taxi in, but I'll go ahead and sign off and say thanks for joining me for episode 3 of Xplanated. You take care, catch me live on Twitch, make a comment below, rip me apart, compliment me, do whatever. Until next time, if there is an Xplanated episode 4, catch you on the live streams. Ciao for now.